this is not like a new invention. It's just
Yeah.
kind of been rediscovered, about 50, 60 years ago. And, Stan Groff with holotropic breathwork was one of the pioneers in that. There was also rebirthing breathwork. And that kind of reopened this area that people have known about for centuries, but was kind of like forgotten and put to the side.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Try Free Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And I am super excited and grateful that you're taking your time to up-level yourself so that you could give more of yourself to the world. That's why I started this podcast, is really to get into the minds, the ideas, and the practices of the people who have the best success in health and life and business, who are just doing things right. And so I hope this podcast is giving you value. And on today's episode, we talk about the power of breath. I know we had a podcast on breathwork before, but I find this practice so valuable that I wanted to dig into the science a little bit more about physiologically what's going on. What parts of the brain is being turned on or turned off to give these life-changing transformational experiences? Now, before we get into the science of breathwork, I want to ask you, has this podcast given you value? If it has, do us a favor, go online and give us a 5-star review at ratethispodcast.com/ThriveState. Your reviews will really help the show grow. Also, if you haven't already, get 3 free chapters of my book delivered to your email for free. This is where I talk about the bioenergetic state and why you are your best medicine. And look, if you're really enjoying all the content you're getting, you want to learn a little bit more, get access to my online course, the Thrive State Accelerator, by going to kienvu.com/accelerator and using the coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the show. My next guest actually did his first breathwork session in 2005 and was blown away by the power of the breath. Now, I could tell you that I've done lots of different things in my life in terms of trying to upgrade myself. Breathwork is one of them. And I actually did a session with my next guest, Michael Stone. The experience of breathwork was so life-changing for Michael that he actually shifted careers and changed directions to support breathwork and in support of world healing. Michael actually has a very unique way of combining the science, which is what I love, with the breathwork training and the experience to create really a safe space for all participants to open up their hearts and to actually have these transformative life experiences. And if you actually stay to the end, you get a link to try his breathwork technique for free. So definitely want to check it out. And over the last couple of years, Michael has actually facilitated over 900 sessions of breathwork from people around the world in over 120 countries. He's also spoken at numerous international conferences and summits with other speakers such as Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, Stephen Porges, and many others. You're going to enjoy this conversation. You'll also love the story about how he got into breathwork. Heck, it's all about love, right? Please welcome this conversation with Michael Stone.
There is definitely evidence that supports that it is the same mechanism. And there's been studies where they've done fMRI tests on people that are doing breathwork where they actually do show that there's less electrical activity in that part of your brain, the default mode network.
Yeah. So what exactly is happening? I want to get into the science. Maybe you could talk about neurodynamic breathwork and how that's different. But I want to get into a little bit of the science as to what exactly is happening physiologically that allows that to happen.
Right. So as you're, and in breathwork in general, you're doing deeper breathing.
Yes.
In most kinds of deeper and a little bit faster. And what's happening is you would normally think, just from a kind of intuitive basis, that there's more oxygen getting everywhere when you're breathing more deeply like that, but that's not actually what happens.
Right.
What happens is that you actually decrease the amount of carbon dioxide
Yes.
that's in your body. And so just as a natural mechanism, the body starts to recreate that carbon dioxide.
Mhm.
And when it does that, it creates more alkalinity in your blood, just
Mhm.
from the chemical processes in creating the CO2. And
Mhm.
as the blood gets more alkaline, that's what creates these shifts in different activities, like in different parts of the brain. And again, the default mode network is one of the areas of the brain that shows less activity as a result of this uh, alkalization of the blood.
That's certainly very, very beautiful, and I resonate with analogies in my life. Seeing the unconscious conditioning I had in many things, and I share with you the same stories of not being able to be in relationships, like finding out all these things that were apparently wrong with them, but at the end of the day, was deep rooted issues within me that I needed to heal first. So, I definitely see this process of breath work and certainly a movement in the psychedelic space to be able to awaken from these unconscious early programs. And Michael Pollan has gotten, pretty, famous in his writings of psychedelics. And in neuroscience, people are starting to discover parts of our brain that are really the primitive part of our brain, called the default mode network, which is basically, it's set up for us to um, survey the world, what's good, what's right, what's wrong, but all the way up basically just in our childhood. And if we're not aware of it, it becomes reality for us. And it sounds like for both you and me, being able to awaken from that space has been very, very liberating. This episode of the Thrive State podcast is brought to you by the Thrive State Accelerator. The Thrive State Accelerator is actually a home course that I developed using the exact same techniques I work with my celebrity clients, CEOs, and executives on how to get them to the Thrive State. The Thrive State Accelerator teaches you how to master your 7 bioenergetic elements. That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, relationships, our thoughts and mindset, as well as purpose. In this Thrive State Accelerator, you're also going to get a bonus module on optimization. That's how I talk about supplementation, peptides, all the optimization techniques I use with my clients to get them to the Thrive State. Now, for some of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys might be wondering, what is the Thrive State? Well, the Thrive State is actually the energy, the epigenetic environment we give to ourselves, telling our DNA how to act and how to respond. And if we want optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, if we can master these 7 bioenergetic elements, our ability to have those 3 things that we just said, optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, is at its greatest. And it also prevents you from getting chronic symptoms like brain fog, being overweight, feeling sluggish, acne, pain, all these chronic symptoms, as well as preventing you from getting chronic disease. So getting to that Thrive State is really getting to that state to master being that very best version of yourself, so you could show up for you, for your family, for your business, everything that's important to you. So go ahead, check it out right now at kienvu.com/accelerator and use coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the podcast. This, I just want to read out some of the results you've got from some of your studies. Greater access to inner wisdom, increased connection to intuition, greater self-awareness, feeling more in their body, increased ability to relax, increased connection to source, increased trust in self, increased calm and peace, release of grief, being more present in life, managing stress better in the moment, and more clarity in their purpose. I think all those things I've had during my breathwork experiences as well.
If you just heard someone tell you this, all you have to do is breathe faster and you get all these benefits, you'd probably think, you got to be kidding me. This doesn't sound possible. And it's interesting because breathwork is not new. Many people think, oh, this is like a new invention or something like that. It's been known for centuries that conscious control of the breath can induce some of these experiences and has all many of these amazing benefits. It's even reflected in languages.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, in Chinese, qi means air that we breathe, it also means energy of life. In Hebrew, ruach means both breath and creative spirit. And in Latin, spiritus means both breath and spirit. So this is not like a new invention. It's just kind of been rediscovered, about 50, 60 years ago. And Stan Grof with holotropic breathwork was one of the pioneers in that. There was also rebirthing breathwork. And that kind of reopened this area that people have known about for centuries, but was kind of like forgotten and put to the side. What we do in our platform is we allow anybody that's interested and curious to try it out. It's a 2-hour structure where we have an introductory talk, an hour of the breathing, and it's done online through Zoom. So you can just be laying in your bed or whatever you want, and you just have to have a decent internet connection. And then afterwards, there's a sharing circle where people can share their experiences with other people from all around the world. And we generally have anywhere from 50 to 150 or 200 people in the sessions from many, many different countries. Over the last few years, we've had over 120 different countries represented. And to join, you just have to go to breathworkonline.com, click on Try Free Breathwork Session, and it'll take you through a process where you can then choose the session that you would like to participate in. We do 5 live sessions every week. And then after that, we're running a structure right now is after you try the session, we actually give you an opportunity to do a whole month of breath work for free. So you can do any or all of the 20 sessions to really get a sense of, if you do it 2 or 3 times or 4 times, what additional benefits, you can start to get. My best medicine has been the inner work that this has opened me up to, and really not looking for answers and looking for something from the outside world to fix me.
Yeah.
And to really see that if the more work I do in myself, the more inner work, the more clarity I have in my purpose in life, the happier I am, and the more understanding I have of what really makes me run. And people on a default basis from evolution are run by survival.
Yeah.
It's logical. That's how the brain was developed. And ultimately, if you really want to have a completely fulfilled life, your brain doesn't really care if you're happy or not. It wants to make sure you survive and have kids and keep the human race going. You have to be able to take a step beyond this evolutionary conditioning.
Yeah.
And when you do your inner work, that's really what opens up this whole new field of possibilities, that you can go beyond your conditioning and really have what I call true freedom, where you can choose from freedom instead of conditioning.
I hope you enjoyed those highlights from this week's Thrive State podcast. To hear the full episode of the podcast, you can listen at Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are heard. Now, if you're enjoying the content, please help this podcast grow by leaving us a review at ratethispodcast.com/Thrive State. Also, if you really want to get into the Thrive State, people ask me, where do I start or how do I get deeper? Well, here are a few resources for you. Number 1, you can pick up 3 free chapters of my book at thrivestatebook.com. In addition, if you want to go a little bit deeper, get to meet myself and my team, and get some online coaching, we have an online course called the Thrive State Accelerator. It's the same material I go through to get my clients into the Thrive State. Go to kienbu.com/accelerator and use the coupon code podcast25 to receive 25% off. And yes, I am a concierge physician at the VU MD Performance and Longevity Clinic. I have a very small concierge practice, but if you or somebody you know may want to be a client, consider applying at kienbu.com/VUUMD. And until next time, remember always, always, always that you are your best medicine.